that when I got there more recently, you had Pakistani female engineers who were treated on the same basis as the males of the same age. Now, I would want to see whether my observations are relevant or just by sheer, or is that the movement that is going on in Pakistan today? That was my question.
Yeah, it's a very important question, namely the treatment of women, etc. I'll give you one specific answer and one specific anecdote. The specific answer relates to Benazir Bhutto. Benazir Bhutto became the Prime Minister of Pakistan at age 34. There was an enormous debate about her in Pakistan. None of the debate was about her gender. All the debate was about her youth. It wasn't that she was a woman, it was that she was only 34 years old. That troubled all of us, to say, can a young person like this, more or less the way you talk about Obama today, he's too young, let's wait, give him a chance to mature, etc. Now that was the debate that we had in Pakistan about Benazir Bhutto. But her womanness was not in question. And please don't forget that you had an area of the world, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Indonesia, all run by women. That's 1/3 of the population of the world. At a time when the United States, after 200 years of its history, has still not produced a woman president. So please don't believe that we keep our women under lock and key. Elise knows that I joke about my wife all the time, in her absence, of course, by saying that we put our women on pedestals and then we put the pedestal in the kitchen. But that is not true. I assure you, my father was the Attorney General of Pakistan, which is not a junior rank. In those days, we had no banks, no checks, etc. So you got your salary in cash. He would come home on the 1st of the month, give the entire salary to my mother. And for the rest of the month, he had to borrow money from my mother in order to make his purchases. And frequently my mother would say no. This is the power of women in Pakistan. So please don't worry about women in Pakistan. They are tough nuts to crack. And look at me. My hair was totally black until I got married. And I wear these 44 medals for each year that I've survived with my wife. And so the verdict of history on the British has been written already, and it will be written in even worse terms as time goes by. Now, colonialism was a very, very painful episode in the history of mankind. And I don't know whether you know how colonialism was exercised, but what happened was that towards the end of the 19th century, the late 1800s, a bunch of countries would get together, drink whiskey the whole day, get drunk, and when they were nicely sozzled in the evening, they'd pull out a map and a blue pencil and begin drawing lines on it and say, this is yours, this is mine. And in the process, they created havoc in the world. They created the Middle East as it is today with blue lines. By what right? I do not know. And these are countries that talk to us about human rights. They don't have a clue as to what is human rights, and they won't have a clue about human rights because it will take them centuries to wipe out the damage that they have done out of a drunken concept of colonialism and blue lines after you are sozzled. And so they created a Middle East with its artificial boundaries. They created an Africa, which is even worse. Africa, no borders in Africa make sense. And so and this is the problem that we have in Africa. Watch out even more than the Middle East. Watch out for Africa, because Africa, all the borders are artificial. And those borders are cut across ethnicities, cut across families, cut across linguistic affinities. and we don't know how to deal with it. This is Rwanda. This was close to what happened in Burundi. This is what has happened in Kenya today. And so all this ultimately goes back to this concept of colonialism. And I really don't know how people who look so nice and decent should have indulged in such crimes against humanity. To say nothing, if you will forgive me for a minute, for the crimes that this Western civilization, which was a Christian civilization, committed against the Jews. The Jews are part of Christianity. It's a single, for Muslims, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam is one religion. It is incumbent on every Muslim to believe in Christianity and Judaism. Incumbent. And most of you might not know this. I cannot marry a Hindu girl without her converting to Islam. But I can marry a Christian girl and a Jewish girl, and she does not have to convert to Islam because she's already part of the same family. And fortunately, I'm entitled to marry 4 wives, so if anybody is interested, just give me your name and your telephone number. And so, I mean, look at what they did to the Jews with the Inquisition, with the pogroms, with Nazism. It is unbelievable as a story of intolerance and human rights violations. So let's slow down and keep your eye on the British ball, because we are not yet sure how much more damage they might do. Because you said they gave independence to India. That's not true. India won its independence from the British. It won it because this was the great contribution of the United States in World War II, because it brought home to the British that they could not sustain an empire, and that this feeling that they had of greatness was an empty card. And ultimately, they had to come down to size, which is where they are today. This is a country that used to say, the sun never sets on our empire. Today, the sun never rises on them. It's full of rain and mist and bogs.
So he thanks you very much for your question.
I'm just interested in learning whether the media in general has accurately portrayed the current political and social climate in Pakistan in the last 2 months.
I don't know which media you're talking about. If you're talking about the Pakistani media, the answer is yes. If you're talking about the US media, the answer is no. Because, we have a problem with the US media. And the problem with the US media is that it is run by a system which is called ratings. Ratings means if the sensational story has to be run, and it has to be run because that's the only way your ratings increase. The second problem with the US media is what is called cable television, because cable television is 24 hours a day, and there are not enough news to run for 24 hours a day. And so they have to keep repeating the sensationalism in order to cover the time for the 24 hours. And so you keep repeating sensationalism, and then Nazi philosophy comes in, that untruths, if repeated enough, become truths. And so you get wrong impressions. British, no, let me not talk about Britain again. Pakistani media and Indian media on Pakistan is far more relevant to the truth.
As a bearded person, first of all, I teach business ethics here as an adjunct, and I am not a fundamentalist, I'm a Unitarian. So, just want following your comments about Britain.
Did you say Unitarian?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes. Following your comments about Britain, which I really appreciated, I'm concerned about covert support for Al-Qaeda and bin Laden. Could you comment on the charge that we are reaping what we sowed by supporting the Mujahideen through Pakistan against the Russians? And could you comment on Thomas Friedman's charge that when we buy oil, which is produced in Saudi Arabia, some of that